we have a lot of interesting experiences along the road in life. I had cataract surgery a week ago today, and it was an adventure. And I didn't follow all the directions that I was supposed to do. I was lax. I got better as the week went on, and now it's a week, and so a lot of them I don't even have to do. So it's kind of cool that, but I understand. I think I'll be a better patient if I get the other eye done, but I'm so excited that I can see you all. I'm just telling you, my title today is It's a Miracle, and in a way, that's the way I feel. Even though I know this was surgery and everything was done and it has that, it feels like a miracle. So, and talking about it's a miracle, and I came up with this topic title, I don't know. I don't even know that I knew when my surgery was, when I did, because we have to come up with titles a long time ago, and so it gets documented and such. Whether or not I did know, things just unfold like that. And so whatever thoughts I had, I know what they are now. And so what is a miracle? And our culture says that when something happens and it's not explained by natural or scientific evidence or foundation, it's called a miracle. Now, if you look up miracles in the Christian Bible, then you're talking about Jesus and his miracles. But we're talking about you and me. And that power that moves through us actually is the same power that moved through Jesus. And so whatever, and he said, whatever I can do, you can do. And he said that to his disciples, but he said that to all of us. How many of us believe that? Some of us, yes. But there's the believing, and then there's executing, right? Because we have this humanity that steps in the way of things. And sometimes if you're a little more left brain like I am, you kind of need to prove things, at least to yourself. When I first came to this center, I came, I immigrated is what it is. I immigrated from Alabama, and we landed up in PV, and we eventually bought a house. My kids were both in school, one in high school, and she was miserable. I took her away from her friends in Alabama. I mean, it just went on and on. My younger one was facing surgery eventually. It was just a big, big thing going on. And then I had in a situation, maybe in a year or two after I'd been here, I also started, somewhere in there, going to yard sales. And so my daughter, who by that point was in the fall of her senior year, she was in a jazz band, and she comes home and says, "Mom, I've got to have a pair of black pants that are not jeans, and I have to have it by," and it was like right away. Oh, okay. Well, I was already in this habit of going to yard sales. So I went to one on Saturday. This may have even been a Friday. And so I go to this yard sale, and what is on the rack? It's a pair of Gap black pants with the tag from the store hanging on it. It was $50. Now that's back in the 90s when dollars were cartwheels then. So $50. And so, but they were selling it for $1. And was it in her perfect size? It absolutely was. So I picked those up, put my $1 down, and I go home. Well, I have to tell you, I did not think at the time that that's a miracle, but you know it was. I just manifested something without praying. I didn't do any of that. I just decided I have to do this. And so that really may have been the beginning of my journey along the line of processing things and having it, manifesting what was in my consciousness. When in 2000, I was invited to come onto the board of trustees. Now, believe me, nobody was more shocked than I was. Dr. Frank called me. My daughter had surgery at that point, my younger daughter, and we were at home. She was still recovering, and I'm talking on the phone to Dr. Frank, and I'm going, "What?" And I thought all members of the board wore suits, and wore suits, and they were men, of course, not me. And so I didn't answer right away because I felt like I need to talk to my husband about this because this affects things. But I was sure I was going to do it. And so I did. I did not know that Dr. Moira was going to come shortly. I didn't know that then. I learned what everybody else did. And so I was on the board, and I dreamed up this big thing that I called Family Fun Fest to happen in the fall. It would be right after Dr. Moira became the senior minister because she wanted to promote family. She wanted a family community experience. So that's what this is. Family Fun Fest, and that's what it was. Most of the people in leadership thought, oh, what? You're going to do what? I didn't get support. I didn't even get volunteers, but I had 2 people who could see the vision of what I wanted to do. They weren't in leadership. They were just random people who, yes, I'll help you. 2 of them. And we made that happen. And somewhere along the line, I remember I did all these different things, and things changed over years because we ended up doing this a lot of years. And so one year, this first time, I really wanted to do something that I was calling a cakewalk. Well, if you've been at this church at all, at Family Fun Fest, you know what a cakewalk is. But there was at least one person who was sure, was a minister here at this church, that is not going to work. We did it anyway, and of course it was the most popular thing for adults that we did do. It was wonderful. Everything happened like that, and you realize that too was a miracle. We did something that hadn't been done, that we didn't have support for, and it was not just good, it was very good. And I recognize in my own life that those are the ways it's a miracle for me. That I think about it, it's not a matter of it's this prayer that I'm used to, because I hadn't learned about spiritual mind treatment at that point. I had not. I started taking classes right about that time, and I ultimately came to understand this teaching, the beginnings of understanding this teaching. I never will stop learning. I read some stuff last night, not necessarily preparing for this talk, but I just got excited about this one whole chapter in the Science of Mind textbook. It is so invigorating because every time I read it, I read a different book. Every time I go over concepts that I've already been over, I learn something else. So what I'm understanding and what I'm saying to you now, don't stop learning. Don't stop putting yourself out there. Don't start investigating because, I've already done that. In the course of the time, even when I became a practitioner eventually, which by 2004, I was a practitioner, and I had people who I would talk to them about taking a class. I've had all the classes. I don't need to do that. I already know all that stuff. No, you don't. But, I don't say that. But none of us know all that stuff. None of us know all that stuff. We know as much as we allow ourselves to understand. Ernest Holmes says it in so many different ways. I could quote passages where he's basically saying you demonstrate according to your understanding. You come into whatever according to the level of your consciousness. He says it in a number of ways. And in man's relationship to God, which was the chapter I was so excited about last night, he's talking about, I was thinking about miracles, and that's actually what I was looking for. He doesn't talk so much about miracles in the way that I'm talking about them. He's got a few entries, but one of the things that people, and he's quoting one of the ancient Greeks, when he's saying that we know things by science, we know things by intuition, and we know things by an experience. And so, or opinions, I think that's not experience, opinion. So it's science, intuition, and opinion. And so what he said, science is spirit knowing itself. So, which, I had to think about that. In fact, I was talking with my daughter Maureen last night. Spirit knowing itself. So if I Science is gravity, say. That's something we all know. If I just tip over here, I'm going down. I'm going down one way or the other, depending on how I catch myself. And that's how gravity works. And it works because a law like that, a principle of science, is God. God is the principle. And so it knows itself by correlating to that. There is no, we don't want that poor woman to hurt herself, so we're just going to suspend briefly. Science is spirit knowing itself, and that's kind of an academic way of saying. Intuition is that spirit revealing itself through us. And intuition is something that many of you have. Sometimes we listen, and maybe don't always, if you're like me. Sometimes something comes to me, and oh my gosh, I could do it that way. And other times it kind of flits through, and I only say later, well, I thought about that, but I didn't. So I would assume we've all had those experiences. But reality, what he says, is reality. Opinion is our estimate of reality. Opinion is our estimate of reality. Now think about that. That's a wide open topic. We were talking in the book group then about people who had had symptoms of certain illnesses, but they didn't experience the symptoms. And he's explaining, but when someone told them they had all these symptoms, all of a sudden they had pain, they had all this different stuff and got scared. And so what happened is, it's a matter of, it's not what happens to us that affects our experience, it's what we think about what happens to us. What we think about what happens to us. And this is not Ernest Holmes speaking. This again goes back to the Greek that said that the first time. That's Epictetus, I think, is the one who said that. And I just think that's amazing, because how I have had the experience of people, and it was an interesting experience. I wasn't present when someone said something awful, offensive, that kind of thing, in the small group of people. What I knew was when someone came to me and said, this person said something awful, offensive, and so I shared this with a different group, and one person said, wait, I was there when that happened. I didn't think anything about it. So it was the same source of irritation received differently by two different people. And I only knew because they reported to me that way. I just thought that was such a valuable thing. When we get wounded, we get hurt, we get angry because somebody said, did something, or especially out in the world. And it can happen. It's how we're reacting. It's what we think about that that's causing us the level of discomfort that we have. Now, that's the truth. It's not always easy, because we all will react at times. I do not set myself above that law. What's important is, the more we know and understand how we work, is that we can kind of catch ourselves and go, wait a minute. And I've been thinking about that since last night, and guess what happened? I had a Zoom class. It was almost a flop. My connection didn't work, something's unhooked, and my Zoom didn't work. I had to substitute all these things. It's probably the worst book reading I've ever had because the tech wasn't working for me. And that gave me that opportunity, are you going to walk the talk here? Is it going to make a difference? Well, no, it doesn't. We'll just fix it. But I did not like it. I guarantee you I didn't like it. I feel that I'd let the people down on my book group. I did. And so that's the idea that we're talking about. Can you catch yourself doing that? Can I even tell that story and say, I did that? I had that reaction. But I'm just going to fix it and move on. And so it is And we all, we all have these things that we put in our experience. Do you really know that? Can you really do that? Ernest Holmes says, and I love this, I quote it all the time, nature won't let us stay in the same place very long. Change comes, and we can welcome it with a smile on our face and a song in our heart. And he doesn't go, or. That's the way it is. And so I love that quote. I say it often, and I feel like I'm either testing myself or I'm giving myself that experience. One way or the other. It comes from me. Nobody did it to me. Nobody did it to me. And so I get to figure out how to work with that. And so I think about us as individuals, and that's primarily what I'm talking about. But we live in a world that has apparent chaos at times, especially if you tune into news and stuff, which I really just don't. But it is, look at the heat situation that we have. You have to deal with things that are happening. But awfulizing it is the choice that we make. How am I taking it in? Am I going to feel wounded because of that? Or, if I don't understand how to fix something, do I just say, I do not know, but divine mind knows and shows me the way? I have several little problems like this. My life is quite full at this. I say problems. I'm not supposed to call them that. I have obstacles. That's a better word. Somebody schooled me on that just yesterday, so I tried to remember that. We can always learn. We can always learn so many things. And so these obstacles, I just am determined to find ways to make them work. And that determination is mine. It comes from me, but the way of it is not because of me. I don't make things happen. And I know as a kid I thought I did. As a younger person, it's coming into this teaching that's helped me recognize I don't make anything happen. What I do is allow myself to get into that divine flow and allow it to be. Whether, it's doing a big project like Juneteenth, and I don't know how we're going to do it, that family fun fest that I first did, or teaching a course. And I'm embarking on an adventure next week. I'm going to teen camp. And I'm going to be a nana for my grandson instead of fully participating in teen camp. Goodness knows I've never done that before. And I don't even know how it's going to work. And actually, my daughter says, we need to talk about this. I'm going, actually, we don't. It's just going to have to unfold, and I don't want to talk about it yet. I'm not on to that. So that is me just allowing what I got to do today is what I have to do today. What I have to do this afternoon, I will take care of. And I know what it is. It is by turning it over to that power within us, there is so much freedom. So much freedom. You just simply don't hold to it. And I invite you to do that in whatever level and way that you want to do that. And when it's the outer world out there, I read something, I was reminded of it this morning, but I've been listening to, it's really an audiobook I've been listening to called The Soul of America by John Meacham. I have the book, but it's actually difficult for me to read because it's so dense. It's easier for me to follow when I'm traveling by listening to it. And some of it is difficult because it's about history, essentially, of how, from slavery and how it all happened and how our country has moved forward. Some of it's difficult to hear, and I have to turn it off. And so I know that one of the things he says, the soul of America is in its finest hour, has its arms outstretched, is welcoming and loving. And our worst moments are with clenched fists. So I take that personally. I'm at my best when my arms are outstretched and I'm open to whatever happens, and I'm not at my best if I'm coming at things with clenched fists. And that's what those fears do for us. I talked about them some on Sunday. But fear is, when fear speaks, listen, is what Dennis Merritt Jones says. And so we will talk about that more as time goes on. Meanwhile, the light has come on, and so that must mean something. And so I invite us all to just come together in this idea of consciousness. What I'm claiming right now is a consciousness of understanding, of openness, and a prosperity of time. There's always enough time to allow all of the lessons that I'm attracting into my life to work themselves out. And I know this for everyone within the sound of my voice. There is good flowing through me and everyone else right now. And I do not put obstacles in its way. I allow this flow. I open my arms, literally and metaphorically at times, and allow it to be. When I listen to the good, I shall not go wrong. I am grateful for everything that comes into my life. I know that good comes from everything and that I find it in the fullness of time. And gratitude for all of the teachings that have come through to me, to everyone, to us all, and most especially spoken in this room for 77 years. I am deeply grateful. And so in gratitude, I let these words go. I release them knowing that they're already done in the mind of God. And I invite, as I say, and so it is. Gosh, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate everyone coming. And what we're going to do now is have an opportunity to give back to this center. It's certainly given me a lot, and so I invite you to share our affirmation as it comes up and says, divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to bless, and to prosper all those who give and all those who receive. I rejoice in this sharing of my good, and I release my gift with love, and so it is. So, does anyone have a comment? I did not bring my little whatever up with me today, as I often do. Is it on? Sometimes I can hear you all better when that microphone is turned on. There's something about talking in that microphone just makes it, even though you can hear each other out there, it doesn't get up here as easily. So talk directly in there and I will listen, David.
Okay. I have a great opportunity coming in my life. And I was talking to a student at the hypnosis class, expressing that I wanted to move into my own apartment by the beach somewhere. And the next day, somebody offered me an apartment overlooking the ocean, fireplace, studio, big studio apartment. And so I'm going to take it in September. She affirmed it yesterday.
Yes. Yes.
And I get to live on my own, which I'm really excited about.
Yes. Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That is your miracle.
Yes.
It really is. It's a manifestation, but there is no scientific reason or natural law that makes that happen other than consciousness, your own consciousness. Thank you, David. That's terrific.
Thank you. And I have my doctor appointment today. I'm excited about it. It'll be my first consultation about my journey, what I'm going through.
Right.
And I'm really excited about getting this healed and
Well, what
growing
I'm
forward.
knowing for you, David, is that excitement is going to carry you through no matter what you hear. That excitement is that anticipation of the good that's coming through you, and that nothing blocks or is an obstacle to the good, that everything you hear is part of a solution to an obstacle that you may be facing now. But everything is flowing through you in the goodness and fullness of time. And whatever it is that you want to learn on this journey, whatever experience it is that your soul wants to have, is revealed in such ease and such grace. I know that everything unfolds for health, for vigorous living, for enjoyment and fullness of life, and for the good of David. I know this is true, and I'm so grateful to know it and know that you know it. And so I just simply say, and so it is.
Thank you, and I appreciate all the prayers and all the support that I'm receiving, and
I know you
Beverly
are.
especially.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm the Beverly. Anyway, I'm continuing my journey. You know, this has been going on for a few months, and I love all the support and the caring and the compassionate people and my family, friends, community. And I have been diagnosed, and I'm excited. Like David, I'm having surgery, and I love that I heard we're going to repair this.
Yes,
And
we can fix it.
I have a sidebar that's very precious to me. I am now re-wearing my wedding rings. You know, my husband passed away in January, and on Friday, I had to go have them cut off because I couldn't take them off for surgery, and cry. And one of our members texted me, and I shared my very sad story, and she said, Beverly, you're going to resize and grow and have this ring as a foundation of your new beginnings. Wow. And here I am in the dark, wearing my jammies, windows are closed, and I get this text. That is a miracle, because it was a deeper place to look. And I'm so enamored and in love with our wonderful planet. Honest, I'm like David, I'm so excited for my next step. Thank you.
I'm excited for you, I know, and I continue to support you in prayer. Yes, please.
That was beautiful, Beverly. Well, it's interesting talking about miracles. There's so many aspects of your talk that I would like to relate to, or do relate to, but the main thing was when I came in today, I thought, okay, there's stuff going on right now for me that I go between thinking, do I feel really depressed and horrible? Am I just really a flop who was, oh, no, are you kidding? Of course not. It's like all this self-talk.
That's the two parts of you.
Yes, oh, gosh. But I said, as I sat here, I thought, okay, please let me be open to what Reverend Katherine says today so that I can use it for my own healing and knowing my next step. And you were so right on. It's totally, totally amazing. You all don't know, but she did this talk for me, and I'm so glad y'all were here.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, really. So it was a very universal talk, undoubtedly. But, Even the details, say technology, oh my God. You know, I had that experience, and I set everything up for my Spanish group so that they wouldn't have any trouble with it, because I had to be with the youth on Sunday. And then I'm hearing all of this awful stuff that happened from the presenter telling me how this was bad and that was bad, and that the sound was terrible and this was bad. And then I asked the person, I mentioned it to the person I had asked to be in charge of helping her, and she said, I didn't see that at all. That isn't really the way it was. And I'm like, oh my Lord, it's a separate universe. I don't know, you know. And so part of it, you know, with me feeling so awful about myself, and then a parallel thing was happening too, where I'm hearing, you know, two different stories, and what am I supposed to do? And I thought, you know, it occurred to me after you spoke, I thought, oh my goodness. I'm thinking about, I caused all this, because I was realizing that there was a change that wanted to happen, and that maybe I'm supposed to be of better service doing something a little different than I was doing it. And now all this opportunity to change is presenting itself. I'm saying, oh my God, that's horrible. You know, I didn't mean that to be so messy, you know.
Right.
But anyway, beautiful, beautiful lesson, which I will continue to think about. And thank you so much for that.
Well, you bring up a point, if somebody else needs the microphone that just passed. You bring up a point that I made that I do think it's great for us to caution ourselves about, that we don't have to be responsible for when things go wrong, even if you're pulling on the plugs and stuff. You don't have to feel that weight of responsibility. If something's broken, then you fix it. But you don't have to feel that weight. And of course, that was my experience just now, that whatever happened, it already happened. So there's no point in awfulizing what has already happened. I just need to fix it and not drag that whole negative experience, certainly not up onto this platform. And so you're saying the same thing, Ann, and I appreciate that. And so I hope that we all maybe can remember that you're not responsible for everything and how people react. If you break a vase, then you get the broom and the dustpan and you clean it up. But there are many things that you don't have to keep, I can't believe I broke the vase, that's just terrible, and you know, this person gave it to me, it was so nice. And we do that, even if it's grandmother's antique vase, it's still broken. So thank you, Ann, for reinforcing that concept. Anyone else? Gosh, we've had great little talks that are just keep going, right? Well, if that's all there is, then I want to know that everything that you're learning every time you come to church, whether it's a conversation with someone, a discussion back there at Richelieu Hall, that's what we have those round tables for, so people can talk and learn things about each other. Whatever you learn, take it into your heart. There's a wonderful scripture about Mary. It says, she pondered these things in her heart. I love that phrase. And I think that is what all of us want to do. And heart is the soul. It's that essence of us. That's not the thinking part. It's just that emotional part. She pondered these things in her heart. So I invite you to ponder all of these things in your heart. And so let's just say, and so it is. Thank you for being here. Yes.